Hello, my loves. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Dustina. This is Spiritually Boujee Astrology, and we're going to take a look at the astrological transits of January 20th to January 26th. We're coming off of a very interesting weekend. And one of the things that I said about this last weekend was when Venus and Saturn hit their conjunction, that there was a level of judgment, there was some results, there was responsibility, there was something here that needed, I'm going to keep saying the word judgment, but it wasn't necessarily judgment in the negative sense. And for a lot of people, whatever that result was something happening for the last time. And we actually had a great human effect for that I think everybody saw. And that was Venus and Saturn hit their first of three conjunctions. That's going to be a big part of like how some of this is also going to play into later. But also the sun was at 29 degrees of Capricorn. And that means something was coming to a close or something was being said or seen for the last time. And I thought that was crazy because it was also the last day of TikTok. There you go. Air quotations on that. Now, if you've listened to me for a long time, I literally started talking about what was going to start happening in this Mars retrograde last year, specifically in February of last year. And I did a whole video like saying that we were planting the seeds last spring for a lot of things that are going to be happening in this spring. And one of the things that I said is that people in positions of power are going to start doing things to completely limit the power of people. And the way that they're going to start doing that is social media, because social media has gotten so big and so strong. You can completely decimate a business by one bad thing on social media. You can completely uproot somebody's life by one thing on social media. So, whenever it comes to the power of people, people in positions of power are going to start to look for ways to suppress that. Right on time. And if you haven't listened to me for that long, what I will do is I will actually link that particular episode of what I'm talking about into the description of this one, because exactly where we're at right now is where I said we would be a year ago. And it just happened to line out. It's like, oh, look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, here we are. Now, there were things about the Venus Saturn conjunction that, again, had a level of judgment. For some people, that judgment was not heavy. Oh, I love how you look. I love how this appears. I love how easy you made this. I love how this has come together. I love the way this tastes. There was something about the judgment that did not have to feel heavy, but for other people, it was heavy. Saturn's judgment can feel very, very heavy. And it could be something around the regards of you're not handling your responsibilities well. You're not doing the right things. I don't like how this has been going. You have to make a change. And for a lot of people, whether you had a physical event in your life of you and another person, of somebody coming down on you, or you coming down on the other person, because every once in a while, you can be the Saturnian person just as much as you can be the Venus person. There was something about the judgment, the results, the dynamic that told us that it was time to do something. And for the more energetically susceptible, like myself, where you get the downloads and you recognize the messages from the universe, there were a lot of downloads to the Venus Saturn conjunction. Now, Venus Saturn's conjunction was the most exact on Saturday. And whenever it comes to the vibration around like Saturday going into Sunday, I'm telling you right now, the amount of downloads and things that I've seen in my meditation in the last 24 hours, it is mind boggling. But I think it's crazy because, again, I said last week, I'm saying it again now, we are at the start of something. And whenever we go into the transits of this week, again, we are at the start of something. Whenever it comes to the vibration around this week, the transits in this week, there's one particular transit that's about to occur that is going to show you guys just how much of a masochist I can be sometimes, because it is my favorite transit of any year because of what it teaches and what it shows. So many people run from the idea of pain and lessons. They just want everything to be easy. But the problem is, nobody learns the right things to do when everything is easy. You take things for granted because all you want is easy. And nobody wants to do all of the necessary work involved to be able to rise to the occasion to have those things that we deserve, because it's not easy. So whenever it comes to one of the particular transits this week, I will have a personal story that I'm going to tell at the end of this episode. But I'm going to warn you right now, just because it's my favorite and I lean into it and I see the benefit to it, at least 70% of you are going to say, I really hate you this week, Dusty. And I'm fine with that. We're good. You want to, I'm the bad guy, I'm the asshole, right on. I'm okay with that. But for other people, if you really lean into whenever I say certain things and you're leaning into the messages and you're trying to learn how to live in alignment with the energy and following this astrology in that type of way, this week's lesson is a year in the making. That's the whole year thing that I was saying before. Now, why do I say that? This week will be our first full-on 100% slam dunk Sun+Pluto conjunction in Aquarius, our first one. Now, last year, the Sun and Pluto made a conjunction at 29 degrees of Capricorn, and then they moved into Aquarius together. And things that I started to say to people a year ago is there's something that needs to come to a close, something that needs to end, something that needs to be moved away from, so something else could begin. And everything for the last year has been this transitional vibration of one thing after another, of cutoff and healing and moving away from and taking back our personal power and overcoming the past and dealing with the unfinished business and letting go of all of the pain and cutting people out and cutting people off and finding new people so that way we can move ahead in a different direction. And again, the energy right now is a year in the making. That Sun-Pluto conjunction started at 29 degrees of Capricorn, but moved to 0 degrees of Aquarius. And what I said last year was something had to come to a close so something else could begin. What I've been saying for weeks is we're at the beginning of something. It's a new level of the obstacle course. There's new things going on. Yes, we still got some old things. Yes, we still got some closeout things. Yes, we still got some stuff coming from the past and some of the things that start coming back around. We're like, well, when I made that decision, I felt very, very differently at the time. I was working with different people. I had different money. I had different things involved. And I don't feel the same way anymore. There's reasons as to why. The vibration of the weekend, when Venus and Saturn hit their conjunction, it was the start of something. It is the start in the series of 3. Whenever it comes to the vibration of this week, and whenever the Sun and Pluto hit their conjunction, it is the first full-on conjunction in Aquarius. Start. There's something coming to light this week. Now, whenever it comes to Pluto, Pluto is the god of the underworld. He's the god of death. He's the god of reincarnation. Another way to say reincarnation is transformation. Whenever you hear the underworld, everybody just thinks of the idea of hell, but it's not always hell. The underworld has more real world topics nowadays. There's those things that happen behind the scenes, behind closed doors, secrets. For some of you, you know what that means, like in your personal life. For other people, you know that there's shadow governments, secrets coming to light. And whenever it comes to the dynamics of this week, if you have been dealing with emotional trauma and triggers already, especially with Mars being back in Cancer, if you've been struggling to hold your emotions in, This is not going to be a fun week for you. And I'm telling you now, you're going to cuss me out. That's okay. You can cuss me out. I can take it. I'm used to it. For other people, there is going to be a recognition of strength, of transformation, of personal power. There's a whole new dynamic taking shape this week that will impact all of the spring. I said the same thing last week based off Venus and Saturn. I am saying the same thing this week based off of Sun, Pluto. Yes, but some of the other transits too this week. And again, I know how many of those things are going to come back around. So again, we're at the start of something this week. Now, the Sun-Pluto conjunction is the most exact on Tuesday. And it is the biggest transit of the week, but it is not the only big transit of the week. That Sun-Pluto conjunction for some people is going to bring up old wounds and fear and frustration of what you need to work on and heal because it's holding you back. For other people, whenever the sun hits the conjunction to Pluto, it will be the recognition of a new power dynamic for some, a new power struggle for others. For some people, when the sun hits the conjunction to Pluto, it'll be the recognition of a powerful transformation. Now, what's interesting is in the human effect, when the Sun-Pluto conjunction happens, we have an inauguration this week. It's tying in some of those big picture real world things into the transits. Can't make that up. It's the truth. We will quite literally be able to see on the news somebody coming into a position of power. But this particular position of power will not be like his last presidency. And again, I'm going to loop an old video that I talked about last year into this spring because we are repeating a historical lesson that has already happened once before, but we're repeating it in reverse. And I don't want to go over all of it again. So I'm going to loop an old episode into the description of this one to explain that better. We're at the start of something that is going to be very, very fiery. It's not fiery in the moment, but it's going to get fiery. And I'm not sugarcoating that at all. Some of the emotional reactions of what comes through for people this week is what's going to be what pushes the fiery, pushes the passion, pushes the revolt. I'm going to say revolt, but I'm saying that more in the personal sense of like, you're not going to hit my buttons. You will not have power over me. I will fight you. Now, are we going to have fights this week? I'm not necessarily saying that. I'm saying that this week is big, but in the moment, it won't feel big. Just like I said last week. It'll feel important. And it will lead to additional things later. But it's not a maker or breaker in the moment. It's one of those things that it just hits your spine different. It hits your gut. You see it and you're like, oh, okay, great. So this is how we're going to do this. That's how you want to play. That's how this is going to go. Fine. Okay. Whenever it comes to the vibration of this week, a lot of the vibration of this week has already been set into motion, but there is still new coming through. And whenever it comes to me intuitively right now, I'm blocked when it comes to this week. I'm blocked, but I'm not. Like, I can look at the transits on the screen and I can write them all down like I normally do. That's not what I'm talking about. But I'm saying, like, energetically, whoever I meet, whatever calls I'm having, if it's not already on my calendar, I don't know what's coming in, but I know it's big. And I just got to be ready for it. Sometimes you can just feel something big is coming through and you just got to be ready for it. You're at the start of something big that we all need to be ready for. I'm saying this on the personal sense, what is going on in your personal life and the personal dynamics, as well as the big picture, big environmental scope that impacts everybody. The macro. Big picture. Be prepared on so many levels. Keep your eyes open and pay attention to the decisions of this week because they are bigger than just you and me. Same thing as last week, just a little bit different because we're already in motion. Speaking of this week, let's get into the transits. Let's get into Monday. All right, Monday, January 20th, the moon is going to be in Libra all day long. And whenever it comes to Monday, there's a lot of like movement, but it's like movement, again, of something that we're already dealing with. Whenever it comes to the moon being in Libra, remember Venus just had its first conjunction to Saturn. And what I said in last week's episode is like once the moon goes into Libra, which that happened on Sunday, be aware of what Libra rules for you because that's kind of where we're trying to see what's necessary to put things into balance. And as we go into Monday, we're still trying to put something into balance. We're still trying to be fair. We're still, I know I goofed up on fair. We're still trying to make something easier, trying to prove our worth for some. For others, it's like proving the appreciation was, what was deserved. And some people might not necessarily be seeing eye to eye with exactly what has been done or said, but that doesn't mean that whatever happened over the weekend was wrong. It was just necessary. Now, I've got this for those that are listening to audio only. I got the screen at 9:30 a.m., and this is going to encompass the first of the 3 transits for the day. The moon at 17 degrees, 47 minutes is going into a square with Mercury at 18 degrees, 9 minutes. Now, this is what I'm looking at. The moon is in Venus' sign. Mercury is in Saturn's sign. Over the weekend, we had a Venus-Saturn conjunction. A lot of what happens on Monday feels like a carryover from the decisions, from the recognition, from the judgment, from whatever occurred already. It feels like a carryover, but it's also like the check-ins and the questions of like, did you do this? Did you take this action? Did you sign off? Did you make this purchase? Did you go to this place? And that's what the square also feels like. Now, for some people, it's going to be the most mundane thing of like somebody asking you, oh, how was the birthday party this weekend? Did you get to see your kid? Did you see your nephew? Did you see your niece? Did you see your grandpa? Did you see so-and-so? How was the weekend? It's not a heavy transit. It feels like a continuation or a follow-up from whatever just occurred. So again, not heavy vibration. Now, between 11:30 and 1:30 p.m., so I'm bumping the screen to 12:30, the moon is going to go through an opposition to Chiron. Chiron is direct. It is the wounded healer. The moon is asking what's necessary to fix something, what's bothering you, what's upsetting you, what's triggering you. Now, given the fact that we also still have the Sun-Pluto conjunction building all day, when the moon hits that opposition to Chiron, there can be more than one thing that regards to voicing wounds, triggers, and healing. For some people, it will be the Sun-Pluto, and there will be things that start to come to light that are starting to get revealed. And whenever the moon hits that opposition to Chiron, you can ask somebody what's wrong, and they might word vomit all over you their childhood trauma that just got brought back over the weekend. I hadn't seen my grandpa in so long. And then whenever I saw him, it's like all of these memories came flooding back to the surface. And again, bleh, word vomit, emotional vomit. I'm not saying that in the negative sense. And I know some people are going to hear that word and be like, Dusty, why did you have to use the V word? I'm sorry. It's not about that. It's more along the lines of like recognizing and voicing what we need to do to heal a wound. Chiron is the wounded healer. What we need to do to fix something. Chiron is the wounded healer. And it might not be a one and done transit for some people. It might be a moving vibration that takes all of these first few days to understand how we need to fix something, how we need to address something, what is coming to light, what is coming to the surface, what we need to heal. Heal. Okay, moving along. Just gonna keep harping. Anyways, gonna move this to the evening time. Get it into about 10:30. Yeah. Between 9:30 p.m. and 11:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, Mars is going to go through a trine with the moon. Not a trine, a square. It's a square. I apologize. I said the wrong word. Mars is going to go into a square with the moon. Now, this is a little bit interesting to me because I see a couple things playing out here in the layers. One, the Sun and Pluto are going into their conjunction. They're getting closer. It does not go exact on Monday. It's going to go exact on Tuesday. But there's also some more in the pattern. The moon is hosting Mars. Okay. Mars is in Cancer, it's in the moon sign, going through that square. Now, in the most mundane sense, whenever it comes to this square, Mars is going one way, the moon is going another way. So we're talking about like not going in the same directions, not seeing eye to eye, a split, so to speak. Okay. But with the moon hosting Mars, it's like, I understand why y'all ain't together anymore. I understand why you can't be with him. I understand why you can't work there anymore. I understand why you cannot commit to the same action, square Mars, that you used to. And by recognizing that, you're also helping somebody recognize their trauma, Sun Pluto, the triggers, the wounds, where we need to heal and where we need to take back personal power. Now, here's the deal. The moon is squaring Mars, the traditional ruler of Scorpio. The sun is coming into a conjunction with Pluto, the modern ruler of Scorpio. After the square between the moon and Mars, the moon is going to go void. And whenever we get into Tuesday, so I'm going to just keep bumping this now into Tuesday, the moon's going to end up going into Scorpio. So there is something here that speaks to what Scorpio rules in our charts whenever it comes to that next part of the day. Now, in the first hours of Tuesday, because I'm still on Tuesday, we're going to have our first transit. It goes the most exact between 2:06 and 2:20 a.m. And that is whenever Mercury, 19 degrees, 15 minutes, hits that square to Chiron. I've got him at 19 degrees, 14 minutes. So we're just past the exact square. The moon is void. So we can be making a decision, Mercury, to go somewhere, to buy something, to do something, to write about something, to communicate something as a better way to heal, moon square Chiron, as how to deal with a wound, moon square Chiron. We also have that Sun-Pluto conjunction happening at the same time. It's not exact yet, but there's a lot of things that here that speak to the wounds, the healing, what's necessary to address the trauma. Now, at this moment, the moon is void. So we can have an idea, but we might not be doing anything with it quite yet. It'd be like, I'll do it in the morning. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll have that conversation tomorrow. It can be an idea, but it's just not an idea that we're working through right then. Because at least here in the States, the time of day. We might not necessarily be writing that email in the middle of the night. We might be making a phone call first thing in the morning. Okay. Between 6:06 and 6:29 a.m. Central Standard Time, so I'm just bumping this to 6:30, that is when the Sun and Pluto go the most exact. So you can see Pluto, 1 degree, 42 minutes, the Sun, 1 degree, 43 minutes. Again, this is their first full-on conjunction in Aquarius in this 20-year cycle. Everything up until this point has been in Capricorn. The one that happened last year went between Capricorn and Aquarius. So it was a transitional energy that told us something that we needed to end so something else could begin. Not that it would, that it could. Now it will. Think of what has changed for you in the last year since the last Sun-Pluto conjunction, and understand that we are at the start of something that is going to be a year in the making. And whenever it comes to next year's Sun-Pluto conjunction, that one's going to be a doozy because there's going to be a lot of other things involved. So be aware of this vibration and be aware of this energy. If you are having struggles emotionally, that is showing you something you need to heal. If you are feeling emboldened and empowered, that is something that you need to still lean into, but not in the ego sense. and recognize that sometimes you need to be the example of showing people how to overcome the fear. Okay, at 10:21 a.m. Central Standard Time, the moon is going to go into Scorpio. It's going into Pluto's sign. What has the sun Pluto brought to light for you? Because it is setting the stage for how the next few days are going to go. The moon is now in Scorpio. It's now in Pluto's sign. What just got brought to light? What just got revealed? And what does Scorpio rule in your chart? Is this a money house for you? Is this a health house? Is this your family? Is this your relationships? Is this your siblings? What does Scorpio rule for you? Because something is changing in this area over the next few days. And again, we are at the start of something that is going to be a year in the making. Buckle up, Buttercup. All right, moving along. I'm going to move the screen to about 2:30 because this is going to encompass both of the next two transits. Between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, the moon in Scorpio is going to square Pluto. Between 1:30 and 3:30, the moon is going to square the sun. So this is the last quarter moon. A lot of the vibration of where we've been a little bit more amped up starts to wind down from here. And again, we kind of go into a vibration of just settling. Now, I don't mean settling in the negative sense of like, oh, well, I guess that'll work. Not meaning it that way. I mean, like, after something vibrationally comes to light, after a certain amount of intensity, after a certain amount of discussions, after a certain amount of things, it's like, once we get it off our chest, oh my God, I feel so much better. It's just like a huge sigh of relief. Now, in this moment, I don't necessarily know that everybody is going to feel a sigh of relief. What I feel like it's more going to do is the moon being in Pluto's sign. It's like seeing somebody else go through something that you've been there before. You know how they're feeling. You know why they're in the bathroom crying. And it's like going in there with some extra tissue and a good bottle of water and be like, okay, come out of the stall. At least come talk to me out here. We can stay in the bathroom. We can sit here and talk as long as you need to. But come talk to me. I think I know where you're at. I know how you feel. I've been where you've been. When the moon hits that square to Pluto and the sun, it's like being in a place where you've been there before, seeing somebody in a place where you've been before. I'm like, yeah, I remember when I caught my ex cheating on me. I remember whenever that happened to me. I remember how I felt and I remember what I needed. So I'm trying to be here for you and be what you need in this moment. The moon feels like an outside source. It's the questioning, what's wrong? What's going on? Are you feeling okay? What's bothering you? And being that outside person for other people, it's going to be a questioning of, oh my God, you've changed so much. You look so great. You don't even feel like the same person anymore. I don't even think I know you anymore. What's different? And whenever the moon hits that square to Pluto, it can be exactly that, a questioning of change and transformation and power. But this is a huge power dynamic, that Sun Pluto. And again, what does Scorpio rule in your chart? Because it's about to be very lit over the next few days. Now, transit-wise, whenever it comes to Tuesday, there's nothing else directly going on. Everything else is a continuation of the vibration that has already been there. And we are in the Sun-Pluto vibration all day long. And we will even be in it once we get into Wednesday. So now I'm in Wednesday. I'm on January 22nd. Now, the thing about Wednesday, again, it's a carryover of the Sun Pluto. The moon is in Pluto's sign. So we're still dealing with whatever just came to light, whatever just came to focus, whatever just got recognized, but in a continuous standpoint. And whenever it comes to the transits of Wednesday, there ain't crap going on until the evening time. And there's literally only one transit. So I'm getting this into the evening. I'm getting it to about 7:30. Yeah. Okay. I got the moon 16 degrees, 24 minutes, entering a trine to Saturn. And at Saturn, I've got him at 16 degrees, 29 minutes. That Sun Pluto conjunction just happened in one of Saturn's signs, but it's the air of Saturn. It's the logical side. It's the stubborn side because it's fixed air. But there can be something that requires emotional understanding. The moon in Scorpio in the trine to Saturn, talking to a boss, talking to an authority figure, talking to someone as to why you feel the way that you do. And again, getting an understanding from somebody that you hold in a high regard, that you have respect for, getting guidance from someone that is arguably higher than you. But I'm saying this more in the hierarchy. I'm not saying that any person is better than you, but somebody that you hold in a high regard or has some level of respect as an authority figure, giving guidance and giving an idea of how to handle things. This is all very emotional, water flow, how we fix, how we heal. When it comes to Wednesday, there's no other transits besides this one. So everything else is just a matter of how it's impacting your natal chart. It's the carryover of the other vibrations, or it's starting to push something into motion when it comes to the next day. So now I'm going to go ahead and get this bumped to the 23rd. We're on Thursday, and Thursday is a much busier day transit wise. There's a lot more to it compared to Wednesday. So the human effect is some of what I start to describe on Wednesday for some people will be a part of, what I start to describe about Thursday will be a part of Wednesday for the human effect, but not all of it. For a lot more people, Thursday is just going to be a very eventful, impactful, and for some people, blindsiding, unexpected, surprising, for some even exciting kind of day. Okay. First things first, between 2 and 4 a.m. Central Standard Time, so I got this at 2:30 in the morning, the moon in Scorpio is going to go through a trine to Venus. It's not a heavy energy. It's an understanding energy. It's looking at the appearance. It's talking about the solution. I would feel so much better if we could do this, if we could make it look this way, if we could make it taste this way. Sometimes it's just a matter of somebody showing up at your door. I don't care if it's 2 o'clock in the morning. If my best friend was to show up with tacos and margaritas at 2 a.m., baby, we're up. We're up. Let's talk about it. And sometimes that's exactly what we need. We just need someone to show up unexpectedly to make us feel a little bit better. That gives us that little bit of extra, that little bit of additional appreciation to show us that the world isn't ending in that moment, that it's not an end all be all vibration. Now, when it comes to the next few transits, a lot of them are very, very simultaneous. So I'm looking, I want to get this to 8:30. Yeah, we're going to bump this to 8:30 because we got 3 things that are going to happen all in the same few hours. So I want this at one even spot. I'm going to talk about all 3. First things first, between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m., so a little bit past right here, the moon is going to go through an exact sextile to Mercury. So I got the moon 22 degrees, 55 minutes. Mercury is at 22:46. This was exact closer to about 8 a.m., but you can still see it's going on right here. This is kind of like a check-in. It's getting some type of information, getting some type of transaction, signing off on something that is much bigger than just the one sign off, given the way the rest of the transits are going to go. At the same time, Mars is going through its exact sextile to Uranus. So I've got Mars 23 degrees, 17 minutes retrograde, making its second sextile to Uranus. You notice what I just said? Its second one. The last time these two were in a sextile was back in October. Hey, remember when I keep saying sometimes some of the old stuff will come back around? Hey, look, old stuff can come back around unexpectedly. Somebody that we weren't expecting things from, something that we weren't expecting to come back around, something that we didn't anticipate. So whenever it comes to Thursday morning, there can be something exciting, but there's also something that speaks to expect the unexpected. I'm going to keep going because I'm not done. Between 8:30 and 10:30 a.m., so I'm right at the start of this, still not moving the screen, the moon is also hitting this opposition to Uranus. Mars is the traditional ruler of Scorpio. The moon and Mars are in mutual reception. They understand each other. And there can be something that comes back around that has more than one entity involved. More than one thing that set things into motion, more than one person coming back around, making certain phone calls, signing off on certain things that arrive on your doorstep, that arrive at your desk, that arrive at your job. Some of those things coming back around might not necessarily be stuff that was completely known. Not only is this an unexpected week, not only is this a trauma trigger week, this is also a week where secrets can come back to light. Remember that part. This right here can be that moment of like, there can be a shock to the system given the Uranus-Mars sextile, the moon's opposition to Uranus. But not only that, Mercury's about to enter this game too. Mercury's a part of all this too. So one phone call can lead to one additional unexpected thing. That additional unexpected thing, not necessarily new, something coming back around. And in some ways it's exciting, like, oh my God, I didn't even think that you were coming into town. But in other ways, it's like, why is this coming up now? I thought we were done with this. I thought this was over. I didn't know that this was going to be a thing. And it can again have a shockwave to the system. This is all of the most exact, what I just described, between 7 a.m. and 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. The moon's sextile to Mercury, Mars is sextile to Uranus, the moon's opposition to Uranus. Now, not only that, the moon is also going to go through a trine with Mars. So you can see this here. There's more than one entity involved. There's more than one dynamic, because you can see that Mars is in this trine with the moon also. So we have a lot of things going on in this quick little span. As the day progresses, between 2:30 and 2:38, and 2:53 p.m., Mercury is going to go through its exact opposition to Mars. So I got it at 2:30. It's just before it starts. Here's Mercury, 23 degrees, 10 minutes. Here's Mars, 23 degrees, 12 minutes. So there's extra layers, there's extra round, there's extra information. One person can sign to send something off while another person shows up going, hey, I've got this package, I've got this document. Or it's like, you get to the end of the day and somebody comes around the corner going, hey, what happened this morning? Oh my God. And you just see again the disruption. You see everything that's coming through. And it's not necessarily that you're going to understand everything that's being in the subject that's coming through the topics. Between 3:54 and 4:09 p.m., so just bumping this another hour, Mercury is going to go through its exact trine with Uranus. There's a lot of dynamics here. There's a lot of shock. There's a lot of things unexpectedly happening. But given that Mercury and Uranus are both in earth signs, it's either tangible things, Mercury, Uranus, and earth signs, or it's emotional things, Moon and Mars and water signs. For some people, it's going to be a mix of both. It's going to be tangible things, productive things, things that we've been working on, things that we thought were set in stone, that we thought were handled, we thought were going well, and then they're coming back around, but it's coming back around with things that we did not anticipate. And it's, again, expect the unexpected day. For some people, this is going to be exciting. For other people, they're going to get a smack in the face when it comes to Thursday. Be prepared for that. And again, what does Scorpio rule in your chart? Because a lot of what this feels like also kind of feels like it was tied to the Sun-Pluto conjunction that happened on Tuesday. So a lot of this can be very, very connected. Now, when we get into the evening time, just a few more hours, between 5 and 7 p.m., so I'm going to up this to 6:30, the moon is going to go through a trine to Neptune. Now, 27 degrees, 58 minutes for the moon in Scorpio. I've got Neptune at 27 degrees, 45 minutes. So we're just past the exact, it was exact closer to about 6 p.m., but that's okay. Whenever it comes to that Neptune side of the vibration, there can be manifestation, there can be inspiration, there can be those spiritual things. There can also be a lot of confusion about what just came through. And there can also be even more so if some things that are really just popped off that you were not anticipating, the claims that they're lying. This isn't true. This isn't real. This can't be happening right now. And with that vibration of Neptune there, it's like, I understand why you're saying that, but I also don't understand how we got here. I don't understand what just happened. I don't understand what you're saying. I don't understand what I don't understand. But there is something here that speaks to, for some people, an inspiration and manifestation and positive things whenever it comes to Neptune, the woo-woo side, the spiritual side. For other people, it's going to be the lies, the fraud, the deception, the confusion. For a couple other people, it's going to be like, I just had the shittiest day in the world and somebody give me a blunt. I don't want to be connected to this day anymore. Give me something to disconnect it and to cloud my senses. Give me a drink, give me a blunt, that type of thing. I can see people getting to the end of the day and needing something like that. Be prepared for that. But I can also see other people being absolutely confused or just absolutely amazed. Like, what happened today? Where's my popcorn? I feel like I need popcorn. There's a lot in the vibration when it comes to Thursday. Now, after the moon's trine to Neptune, the moon is going to go void until about 10:30 in the evening. And that's whenever the moon is going to go into Sagittarius. You can see here's the moon, 0 degrees, 0 minutes. The moon just went into Jupiter's sign. Now, the thing about Jupiter is Jupiter's had nothing to do with this week. There's been things going on in Jupiter's sign in Pisces, but Jupiter itself has had absolutely nothing to do with this week. So once the moon goes into Sagittarius, what I'm paying attention to is Jupiter is stationing. Jupiter is also stationing in an area of the sky where he has been before, most specifically July of last year, the week that started all of the volatile energy that we were in the last half of 2024. Yeah, that week. There are things that can go all the way back to last summer that start to come back around. And now our focus is going to shift. For some people, once the moon goes into Sag, we're excited and we're hopeful. For other people, we're going to become very aware of something that we need to work through to aid in a turnaround. It might not be an exact turnaround in the moment. You might have small turnarounds throughout the next few days. But there is something that speaks to what is necessary to turn a situation around, to get something changed, to get something reevaluated, to get relooked at. There's something here that brought us to a topic that we were not anticipating. Okay. Once the moon goes into Sag, it's not really doing anything. We're going to go ahead and get into Friday. We're getting into the 24th. Now, first things first, it's going to happen between 1 and 3 a.m. Central Standard Time on Friday. The moon is going to make a sextile to Pluto, not a heavy energy. But Pluto did just have the Sun+Pluto conjunction. We can be discussing the steps, the process to heal something, to fix something. We can be talking about the power dynamic, what is transformed, what we're hopeful will happen next, how something can be handled from here. And some of that hopefulness is meant to, again, be something that helps us overcome things from the past. Now, that's felt the most exact between 1 and 3 a.m. A couple hours later, between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. So I'm getting this to bump to 8:30. The moon in Sagittarius, 5 degrees, 7 minutes, is going to go through a sextile with the sun. Again, not heavy energy. This is that last brightness of the sun because it's starting to wane down into a new moon. The new moon is actually going to happen next week. It does not happen this week. But a lot of this is starting to bring something into focus, bring something more together. And again, this is not a heavy energy. This is just kind of a check-in. This is seeing how somebody is doing, talking about the appearance of something, setting something into motion, trying to get an idea of how we're turning something around, what has come to light, what has come into focus, but not necessarily a heavy vibration. I think that once we get to Friday, we're trying to understand what just happened this week. I really do. Now, as the day progresses, it's not a heavy day. We have energies that are building. We have energies that are starting to separate. But we really don't have anything that speaks to like not anything negative or anything bold or big. I feel like everything has already been put into motion, been put at play, and we're at the continuation. We're becoming more and more aware of what we need to do to turn some things around, especially when we get into the evening time. So between 8 and 10 p.m. Central Standard Time, the moon in Sagittarius at 11 degrees 19 minutes is going to hit its opposition to Jupiter, 11 degrees and 27 minutes. So they're actually going to hit an opposition. I feel like once the moon actually hits its opposition to Jupiter, and this is the first real transit that's impacted Jupiter all week, this is when we become aware full on of what's necessary to turn something around. The only reason I keep saying turnaround is Jupiter is at its stationing point. He is trying to turn direct. We are trying to turn something around. We are trying to change our luck, change the vibration, get something different in regards to the hope, in regards to the big picture of things, how we heal something, how we manifest our abundance. What does Sagittarius rule for you? This is not a heavy energy. The Jupiter is the doctor, the guru, the teacher, asking the doctor for his opinion, asking the guru for their insight, for lessons from them. It doesn't have to be an actual guru. You're not climbing to the top of the mountain, but it's just like getting the insight from someone that you respect, but not necessarily in the authority figure sense, more the teacher sense. This is not heavy energy. Now, it is having to do with somebody in the medical sense because it is Jupiter now. Then it might have to do with something in regards to the liver, or we could be talking about the wellness and the health of someone. But again, this does not feel heavy given the rest of the dynamics of the week. Okay. After the moon hits the opposition to Jupiter, there ain't a whole lot going on. I mean, honestly, we're going to go into Saturday, and there's more transits whenever it comes to Saturday. But in all, it's just not a heavy day. I feel like a lot of things are just still the carryover from what we've already dealt with. Now, between 6 and 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, the moon in Sagittarius is going to enter a square to Jupiter. Now, again, the evening before, the moon hit the opposition to Jupiter. Saturn is in Jupiter's sign. The moon is in Jupiter's sign. I think all of the squares that start to happen from here, all of the action of the moon in Sagittarius, it is, again, implementing the things that are necessary for us to change our fortune, change our luck, turn something around. Something that is both logical, necessary, responsible, and hopeful. How big or little that topic is for you in your personal life is different for everybody. But there is something here about how we start to take the actions to turn something around. So the moon hitting that square to Saturn is questioning the authority figure, the boss, the responsibility of something or someone. Once we get into the later parts of the day, because the moon is square to Saturn is going to happen early between 6 and 8 a.m. Who's responsible for what? Delegation of certain things. Final little things that we need to take care of to be prepared for something. And for a lot more people, we're getting prepared for something that's going to happen later in the day. So I want to bump this now into the evening time to kind of go into what I'm talking about. So I want to bump this to 5:30 because that's going to encompass both. Okay. Between 4:30 and 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, the moon in Sagittarius is going to hit a square to Venus. While Venus is going through the square with the moon, Venus is entering her trine to Mars. This trine to Mars is the first of three. Notice how I keep saying that kind of crap. It is the first of three. The second one will be on April 6th. The third one will be May 22nd. There can be things that we are doing come Saturday, how we're turning around our hope, how we're turning around our abundance, how we're turning around our luck. There can be things here on Saturday that also will speak to the things that we'll deal with into the later parts of the spring. Now, again, I'm saying April and May. We're laying the groundwork. We're at the start of new things. But in that moment, it might not necessarily feel like the biggest thing. That doesn't mean that it's not new. Now, what's interesting is whenever the moon hits the square to Venus, the moon is in a quincunx to Mars. It's in conjunct Mars. It's not seeing eye to eye. So this tells me one of two things. It's like asking someone how to do something or what they're going to be doing, but it's only knowing one side. So are you going on a date tonight? Yeah, it's my first date. I don't know this person. We've never been on a date before. We met on a dating app. Okay, well, you should do this, this, and this to be safe. Moon square Venus. And you're telling that person to be safe because you don't know who they're going on a date with. They don't even know who they're going on a date with. Moon quincunx Mars. Now, for some people, you're giving somebody direction because you don't like the other person. Like, now I know you're going to go spend some time with your dad. And I don't want you to feel like that you can't call mommy. Even if daddy says no, you can still call me, okay? Like, we're giving someone direction. We're talking to someone about how to do something next, about the next thing, either because we don't see eye to eye with the other side or we're not familiar with them at all. We just don't know them. So for some people, that's going to be super easy. Like I said, it's going to be telling somebody how to be safe on their first date, that they haven't been on a new date before. In other ways, it can just be like reminding somebody they can do certain things in a way that's loving and appreciative, moon square Venus, knowing that somebody else might not be happy about it and you don't really give a shit about the other side. Moon quincunx Mars. That's why I gave the two examples that I did. But again, this is one of those other transits that speaks to, we will have other ones of this later. So some of the things that are starting to happen in this moment, they are new and they play into something that's going to be bigger later. Okay. The other two times, again, April 6th and May 22nd, those will be the next two times we have Venus-Mars trines. Two of them will be in these water signs. The last and final one will actually be in Aries and Leo. So it'll be at a whole different vibration for that one. And that'll be good. Okay. After Moon square Venus, Venus trine Mars, this is all happening very simultaneously. After all this is done, there's no more transits to Saturday. Everything is just kind of the continuation. It's the human effect. Those are just whenever those are the most exact. We get into Sunday. The moon is still going to be in Sagittarius for most of the evening. Now, most of the overnight hours. Between 2:30 and 4:30 a.m., the moon is going to hit a square to Neptune. This is not a heavy energy, but it can still be like setting an expectation for something that we aren't fully expected of yet. We don't fully know yet. And here's what I think is very interesting. When the moon is going through that square with Neptune, simultaneously, Mercury is entering a sextile to Neptune. So some things can be very clouded. It cannot be seen clearly. There can be questions about our judgment, about how we're going to believe something, how we're going to handle something. A lot of people, though, if you're questioning like that belief aspect of what I'm saying, like, well, do you believe what he said? Do you believe how this is going to go? Do you think she's going to make it home on time? Yada, yada. It's like, whatever it is, we'll see whenever they get here. We'll see when everything happens. We'll talk about it in the morning. We'll figure it out later. There is a questioning of something that feels clouded, unclear, unknown, knowing that we're going to have something more solid and tangible to communicate later. And I do mean the later part. Later in the day. It's not heavy energy at all. But after the moon hits the square to Neptune, the moon is going to go void. It's going to stay that way until 7:43 a.m. Central Standard Time. So I'm bumping the screen to 8:30 because then the moon is going to go into Capricorn. The moon is now in Saturn sign. And simultaneously, Mercury is getting closer to its actual sextile to Neptune. It goes the most exact between 12:27 and 12:41. So I got the screen at 12:30. Here's Mercury, 27 degrees, 49 minutes. Here's Neptune, 27 degrees, 49 minutes. Some of us can be confused about something the night before or asking about the possibilities of something. How do you think it's going to go tomorrow? Well, I guess we're going to see whenever we get there. We're going to see how it all goes down. We're going to see how it all plays out. We're going to see how the meeting goes, how the message goes. We're going to see how everything gets communicated. That type of vibration. Mercury sextile to Neptune can be communicating things that we're not completely clear about, but we're not lost. We're talking about things in regards to faith, in regards to responsibilities, what can be more solid, and trying to provide direction and clarity in some way. Mercury sextile to Neptune, but in a lot of ways, it's not giving everything. It's like talking in circles and talking in code. And that feels like a big part of the vibration for both Saturday and Sunday. Now, when it comes to Sunday, the one other thing that will also be that first conference that I'm going to be at the Reed Conference Center. I forgot to put that in the intro of this one, but I also told a lot of people that if you want to hear my Sun+Pluto story, to go listen to the closing. So now I'm going to put that part in the closing. Next Sunday, I will be in Oklahoma City at the very first conference that I've got booked. There's a couple more that are going to happen later this year. That will be the first one, and I will only be there on Sunday. So if you're wanting to see me, you can come to the Spirit Fair, and I have all the information listed in the events area of both the website and Facebook. So you can actually go to the events tab on either one, and you can see that. Now, my Sun+Pluto story. When was this? 2022. Okay. I was super blocked going into that particular Sun+Pluto conjunction. And I just kept feeling like there's something I need to change to help me get through the blockage. And I don't know what it is. I have no idea what it is, but I'm going to just set aside this entire day. And Sun+Pluto that day was like on a Sunday. It was super easy. I'm just going to set aside this entire day to meditate on it. I'm pretty sure this was 2022. Yeah, this sounds right. Sun+Pluto conjunction happened. I'm in meditation, puppies, doing their thing. And what came to me was I needed to get off gluten. Okay. This will allow for certain levels of transformation, but it will also allow for internal healing transformation. Okay. It's the weirdest thing. That's what came to me in my meditation, Sun+Pluto. Get off gluten. I do. My entire life, if you ask me where I was hurting, I would go, I don't know, freaking everywhere. Pick a spot. It hurts because I was inflamed from head to toe. But I didn't know that because that felt normal to me. I had been eating gluten my entire life. And after a few months, my doctor was the one that actually brought it to my attention. I had told him, I'm getting off gluten. I'm going to try this for a couple months. I'm going to see what happens. And every time I would go see him, and he would ask me, for a while then, where is your pain? I'd be like, I don't know, everything hurts. But after I got off gluten, what was really interesting is about 2 months into it, he goes, you can pinpoint on your body exactly where your pain is. You've never been able to do that before. And he's right. I could go into his office and be like, this hip is out of place. Something's weird over here. There's something, not in place in my back, and I can't get it back into place. I need adjustment here, 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 and here. And in my entire life, I had never been able to do that. I get off gluten, and within 2 months, I could tell you exactly on my body where I was hurting, and I could literally focus on that area to work through it. And if I couldn't work through it physically, then I could go to a chiropractor and have them do an adjustment. Super easy. Fast forward to June of 2022. My mom starts having abdominal pain, huge abdominal pain. She's having gallbladder attacks. Have no idea why. She ends up having emergency surgery, gets her gallbladder removed. Since COVID, surgeries are not quite the same, at least in the hospital that we were at. And the doctor doesn't come out and talk to you anymore. The doctor will actually call you while you're in the waiting room. Super weird. He's like, yeah, did your mom know your mom has liver disease? No. Is she an alcoholic? No. None of these things. What the hell? Yeah, that's how I found out, because she was starting to have gallbladder attacks. My mom has liver disease. She has something legitimately wrong. We start going through the reverse mechanisms as to why. She's not an alcoholic. She doesn't have an STD, because sometimes liver disease can be related to like hepatitis. Wasn't that. She's not diabetic. She'd had multiple times over the years where she had had false blood sugar reports, but she wasn't actually diabetic. She couldn't remain insulin dependent. It bothered her body to stay insulin dependent. And a very, very long story short, it was the gluten. It was the gluten. My mom and I had both been eating gluten our entire lives. 6 months before my mom started to get sick, it came to me in meditation to get off of gluten, to actually be able to get more clarity in my visions and in my meditation and in my body. Like, for me to get further into alignment, I needed to get off gluten. 6 months later, my mom has liver disease because basically our entire lives eating this stuff that we are allergic to is like taking a low dose form of arsenic. The doctors could not figure out what gave my mom liver disease. I did, through dietary, through doing food allergy tests, and actually getting her off of the gluten. At one point, her liver was 3.5 times the size that it should be. It is now reduced in size to a more comparable level. Now, it's still enlarged. She still has liver disease. I'm not curing her by any means, but it's not 3.5 times the size. It's more like 2 times the size that it's supposed to be. So the inflammation of this has gone down. It was not the doctors who figured that out. It was me through meditation and through the freaking astrology. Sun-Pluto conjunctions. All of that I figured out and how I've kept my mom alive came to me through a Sun-Pluto conjunction meditation. My mom is alive 2 years longer than what the doctors thought that she would be, because I changed her diet. And I changed her diet because of my meditation on a very specific transit. Now, I'm a Scorpio rising. I don't hide that. I'm a Pluto conjunct the ascendant person. When you guys say, like, Dusty, sometimes you're a little intense. Yeah, it's kind of my placement. I'm sorry. I'm also a Gemini, so I make jokes about it. But, I knew that meditating on that Pluto thing would let me know what I needed to transform, would let me know what I needed to work through. I knew it. I'd already done it before. But that one, in my opinion, was the biggest one that I'd ever experienced in my entire life, because it helped me work with my mom. And once my mom, one, changed her diet, and she too started to feel mentally clearer, better control of her emotions, able to understand more and feel more individually areas of her body and not just being inflamed all the time, she was able to learn more too. Can you have things with Pluto that trigger wounds and trauma and all of the negative things? Absolutely. But when you lean into that transit, when you lean into what do I need to change to feel better, to be better, to be more clear, to not feel so compressed, to not feel so held back, to not have personal power, personal strength. I'm not saying power over people. Like, I'm not trying to be the most powerful wizard in all the land. You notice my sarcasm when I'm saying that way. I'm not trying to do any of that stuff. I just want to be me and happy with me, and knowing that my happiness in me and tuning into the better part of myself, I'm able to help other people the way that they need me to help them. No other transit gives me that more than Pluto. There will be people that go into this week and go into the Plutonian transit, and they're going to be triggered. You can be triggered. People around you can be triggered, and they will not know why they feel the way that they do. But I am telling you, if you lean into everything, dissect the negativity that is there, dissect the pain, dissect whatever is coming up to the surface, and you start finding ways to work through and heal, regardless of what it is, whether it's something in your actual health, like what I just described. For my mom, it hasn't been in her actual health in that regard. It's been more how she can finally let go of the past situations that go back to her childhood. And in this regard, when it comes to me and her, we have flipped roles. I'm raising my parent. I say this to her all the time. It's like, raising parents is not fun. But it's been something that's been very helpful for her to be able to let go of certain traumas and certain rage and frustration so she doesn't carry that energy with her to the next life. To let go of the things that hold you back on any level, Pluto transits show you where you need to do the work. It's not easy. I'm not going to sit here and say it's easy. I miss going to the store and getting junk food, using that as an example right now. And it is a mundane example. That's why I wanted to use it. It was easier to be able to just go do these things. It was definitely cheaper, but it wasn't good for me. It wasn't right for me. Just because it was easier doesn't mean that it was the right thing to do. So I did the work. My body is still trying to recover from basically eating low dose arsenic for every day for 35 plus years. It's still in recovery from that. But I have more control of my emotions, control of what I feel in my body. I have more control of the things that I consume and more awareness of things. And the mental clarity, night and day difference, because I put effort into what I needed to change so I could have personal transformation. Sun conjunct Pluto. I hope more people will lean into this vibration and discover what they can start to do. Because remember, this is the first Sun Pluto in Aquarius. So we're at the start of things. I hope people can see this vibration and lean into it as what they can start to do to get more control of their senses, to have more personal power in certain situations, to not feel robbed, to not feel like people have power over you. And if it is something in regards to your health, and if that's what comes to you that day, is like, you have to make this change. What you don't necessarily realize is that there's an or else. I didn't see the or else for 6 months. I did not realize that me making that change right then was also going to have a bigger impact on somebody completely outside of my household. But once we figured it out, I was so grateful. And I do have more control of my emotions, and I am far more in tune with my intuition. Am I at the best? No. I can be better. I still like my junk food. I still like my sugar. I still like certain things. But I recognize the work that was necessary for me to get to where I'm at right now, so I can be who I am right now for you guys. So when I'm saying the Sun Pluto conjunction is my favorite transit, it's because it is. It's not in my natal chart. It's hell for a lot of people. But what it shows you can be magnanimous, and not enough people lean into that. People say that they like change. Really? Let me show you some Plutonian changes. You're not going to like change the same way. And if you do, then you're like me and you're a bit of a masochist, and let's just do it. There will be triggers of something that needs to be transformed. If you are in a good place of personal power, then you will see the trigger of someone else, and you are meant to be that person of power and strength for that other side, for another person. You are there to show someone how to heal. Some of you might be getting triggered while also going through something where you have to help someone else overcome. And we are at the start of very big energy. And I mean it when I say, when we get into the next few months, it's going to get fiery. It's going to get empowered. It's going to be much more passionate, and it's going to have a lot of tension to it. So if you want to have more control over your responses as to whatever that's going to be, lean into the lessons of whatever the Sun+Pluto brings to you, whether it is in a physical, real world, oppositional sense between you and other people, you and one person, or whether it is all the internal downloads of what needs to change for you to be better. Lean into the lessons, no matter how hard they are. Okay. I love and appreciate every single one of you. I will talk to everybody very, very soon. Subscribe.